Hey, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun Benzion. Today's daf is Nedarim daf Nun Zayin number 57. The Gemara on Nun Zayin number Beis has a discussion over here. It brings up a question. If you have, let's say this simple case, you have a batzel, an onion that was planted during Shemitah year and it has kedusha Shemitah. You're not allowed to. You have to eat it in a certain way. You can't throw it out. You can't do business with it. And then you uprooted it in the middle of its growth and you replanted it during the eighth year. And it grew so much during the eighth year that the growth during the eighth year outnumbered the growth that it did during the Shemitah year. So now Rabu Gedula Ikar, right? So the Gedulim, the new growth, was beheter during the eighth year, so it should mavatel, bittel baro, should mavatel. The question is it mavatel the Ikar, right? Which is a smaller percentage. To the point where we can say you could eat the entire onion, even though, let's say, a third of it was grown during Shemitah, but it's batal barov, 2 to 1, it's batal barov. And you could eat the entire onion without Kedusha Shemitah. Do we say that or not? The Gemara goes back and forth or not. The Gemara has a proof from Truma that you would say, two proofs from Truma that you would say, one Lakula, one Lachomer. And it has two proofs one from Orla, one from Klaya Karam, even though it has 200 Gedulim of Heter, and normally Arla and Kilei HaKemer are Batel 1 and 200. We don't say Gidul of Malin as a Iker when it comes to replanting Kilei HaKerem and Arla. So that's the point we're reaching the Gemara over here. The Gemara has not finished the discussion. The Gemara will continue the discussion tomorrow. But I'd like to draw a distinction, if I may, between the two cases, the four cases, two is each side. Two proofs from Truma and two proofs from Kilai Kam and Arla, one from Kilai Kam, one from Arla. Kilai Kam and Arla are different than Truma in the sense that Kilai Kam and Arla are Asr Bahana. That's the reason they're Asr 1 and 200. And Vatal, usually Bittel, you need 1 to 200, right? It really would be like Truma 1 to 100. However, because it's Asr Bahana, so therefore the Torah was Kofel, doubled the amount needed to Vatal it. But the bottom line is Asr Bahana. Not only Achil, Truma, however, even though really it's only mutter to Kohanim, but it's mutter bahana, right? It is mutter bahana. It might be asr be'achila, but Truma is technically mutter bahana. Even Truma Tmei is mutter bahana. You can burn it under tafshilo. Now, whether Yisrael can benefit from Truma by burning under his tavshil, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if it's true or not. But in general, first of all, Shemitah, the question was about Shemitah. And Shemitah is something, again, which is mutter behana. You're not allowed to use it for a hana. There's two different types of hana by Shemitah. There's a hana b'shas biura, which is mutter, when you're getting benefit while it's getting destroyed. And there's hana la'achar biura, which is not. The Gemara still could distinguish between the two. But there is certain circumstances where Shemitah, you could benefit from it. And even if you can't eat it. And Truma also, there's definitely room to be made when it comes to Hana. So here the question is basically essentially a question of Bittul Varov. Do we rely on Bittul over here? Now, the Torah relies on Bittul. Maybe you need more by Truma, maybe you need more by Arlin Kilei, but if you have that requisite amount, you could rely on Bittul. The Gemara sounds over here that Truma should be batal 2 Rabu Ikar 2 to 1, even though Truma normally is batal 1 to 100. That really maybe only when you're dealing with disparate entities. When it's one onion or one fruit, so then even Bittul Barov should work by Truma. Fundamentally, it should work Bittul Barov, but Truma is maybe only a chumr from the Torah. So Bittul Barov does work by Truma, and the reason it works by Truma is because the whole idea of Bittul Barov, again, it's not a vadai. Bittul Barov is saying Achirav Lahatos. You have 12 dayonim that say zakai and 11 that say you're chayiv. So even though we know that the 11 people are not like nothing, right? It's not 100% to 1. But the Torah is machriya. The Torah makes a decision, and the Torah says that's the way it's regulated. That if you have 12 people that are mizak and 11 people that are machayiv, the person is acquitted. He's not chayiv misa. So we rely for a decision on Bittul Barov, on Acharei Rav Lahatos. Torah relies on that. But relying on something like that is really a type of benefit, right? It's a benefit the Torah gives, the benefit of the doubt. There's a doubt, but you have an overwhelming majority or a majority. So once you have a majority or an overwhelming majority, the Torah says rely on making your decision about whether this is mutter or asr, based on that principle of bittul barov. But that is a benefit that the Torah provides you, because technically, if it was uh, it was an all or nothing world, right? Which really the way the world works, all or nothing. So then I would need 100% to zero, but Rove doesn't. Rove, we know Rove is not 100% to zero. It's a way of making a decision. So using bittul barov is relying on a heter of hana that you're allowed to get benefit. So by truma, where there is instances where you're allowed to get hana from it, and by shvius, where you're allowed to get hana from it, makes sense. However, when it comes to klai karam and orla, those things are asr not just an achila, but hana legamri. You can't get any benefit from it, right? It says uh, by kilai karam, it says pain, I forgot the word, but whatever, the Torah says it's Asr Bahana. It's Asr Bahana, you can't get benefits. So you can't rely on Bittul Barov over there. Whether you have 200 to 1, it doesn't make a difference over here. Now, obviously, you're going to tell me what? We know it's Batal 200 to 1, but maybe when it's the Gedulim, the Iker and the Gedulim is different because it's one entity. It's one entity, so relying, that's the difference between, we'll have to talk more about this tomorrow maybe, between Bittul Barov and called the parish meruba parish, called the parish meruba parish, where you're dealing with, a piece of meat and 10 different stores or 10 pieces of meat. Everything's, you have, you have different items over here. You have dayanim, which are different, right? 12 dayanim, 23 different people. When you're dealing with one fruit or one vegetable, so maybe that's the thing. Even though 200 to 1, if I have 200 apples that are not kilayim, and one apple that is kilayim, I got to mix together one apple that's orla and 200 that are not orla. So therefore, they got mixed together. There's 201 disparate entities. So then we rely on called the parish meruba parish, or called the parish matayim parish. But when it's one entity or it's one fruit over here, and we're relying on the growth, right? The gidulim marvin and ikar. So therefore, it's we're relying more on achariyah of lahatos. We're relying more on bittul barov, and maybe you don't have that pleasure that the Torah affords you when it comes to klai karam and orla. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.